Well, hey, it's Heidi. Okay, doing business around the world, virtually or in person. Well, we're going to talk about body language across different cultures. It's very important. You need to stay tuned because you do not want to send the wrong message. Well, hello and welcome. It's Heidi Dulaban, international cultural consultant and etiquette expert. And today we are talking about body languages across cultures. Yes, do you work with a global team? Are you traveling? Are you a traveler? Well, you need to stay tuned because you can easily send the wrong message or be offensive and you had no intention, or maybe you had no idea you were being so offensive. So let's just start in. Let's start in with greetings. Yes, you can be offensive when you are meeting someone. Okay, there is a great book. It's called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands. And that sort of covers how we greet around the world, doesn't it? So, many cultures, they greet by giving a little kiss, a little air kiss on either side of your cheek. So if you're traveling to parts of Europe or Latin America, and someone greets you, probably not the first time, but they might greet you. You put out your hand to shake it and they sort of lean in and give you a little kiss on either side. That's great. Just go with it and accept it in the spirit in which it's given, which is a sign of respect and appreciation and admiration. So just take it like that. That's nice. How about bowing? Well, there are parts of the world, lots of parts of Asia, where people bow when they are greeting. And there is lots of etiquette involved with bowing, depending on the country and to the degree of the person you're meeting, their age and their position. There's just so much etiquette that goes into it. And I recommend you do your research, because bowing, you want to put your hands here and your whole torso bows, and then you watch where your eyes are, and you want to be mindful of that. So do a little research if you're traveling to Asia. Okay, how about shaking hands? I'm in the United States, and Americans, we are taught for a firm handshake. It says, I'm confident, nice to meet you, and that's great, but it's not always done around the world. If you are going to Japan, say you're doing business in Japan, and you get there and you forgot about the bowing, it feels too awkward for you, and your Japanese counterpart, because it is such a polite culture, they sense that. They can read between the lines that you're having trouble with, what do I do? Do I bow? I don't know. And you stick your hand out because it just was innate. And so what does your Japanese counterpart do? Well, as a courteous, polite person, instead of bowing, they stick their hand out. And then you take it and you give them the old bone crusher, because that's what we're taught to do. And you just really offended because they were so courteous to extend their hand to shake your hand, and then you gave them the bone crusher? No. In Japan, it's just a nice light handshake because bowing is the culture. So remember that. But see, you were offensive and you just didn't mean to. That was not what you meant to do. Okay, let's talk about eyes. When we are traveling around the world, we need to be aware that in a lot of the Western world, we are taught to look somebody right in the eyes. That says a lot about us, that we are confident, that we are truthful, that we are engaged, and we're listening because I'm looking at you right in the eyes. Okay, well, there are parts of the world, again, let's go to Asia, and really staring at someone right in the eyes, that is aggressive. And so you would meet them, look in the eye, and then you would just sort of look away. They're taught in Japan, sort of look at someone's neck, not so much right in their eyes all the time. Of course, you'll make some eye contact, but not like the Western world. Okay, so now let's talk about hand gestures. Oh boy, this is where it can all go down the tubes. All right, the thumbs up. Thumbs up. I like, dislike, social media. Or, hey, looking good. Great job. The old thumbs up. Well, it plays super in the Western world, but there are parts of the world, parts of the Arab world, even parts of India, parts of the Buddhist world, where thumbs up is the equivalent of our middle finger up, where the thumbs up is basically up yours. Sorry, inelegance. So be aware of that. Now, with social media and the likes and dislikes, has become much more relaxed. So if you are traveling in a part of the world where it is considered rude to do that, but they might be a little more accepting because of social media. However, be aware if you're in more of a remote area, and it can still be highly offensive. So again, do your research. Okay, so another hand gesture, some things do where, Texas, hook 'em horns or hang loose. Well, there are parts of the world where that means your wife's having an affair. So, it's best to keep your hands to yourself. I am demonstrative when I speak. I speak a lot with my hands, so I have to be careful also. Speaking of a culture that speaks with their hands, let's take a trip to Italy. Italy, they do this with their hands. It's called the pine cone. And this means, when they go like this, it means, what are you talking about? What's going on? I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. And it can get very aggressive and then really start meaning, now what the heck is going on? So that's what this means. So be aware of that, and to the degree of how it's just a little huh or a So be aware of that. While we're in Italy, let's just talk about hand gestures to your head. So let's just say someone has asked you something and you're in Italy and you're thinking about it. I really want to put some thought into my answer, and they're looking at you like, okay, what's the answer? And you're like this, I'm thinking, just give me a moment. I'm thinking. Well, in parts of Italy, this means you're crazy. So you meant to say, I'm thinking, and they heard, you're crazy. So be mindful of that. There's just so many ways you can be offensive with your hands, and you just don't want to be. That is not your intention. So be aware, do some research. And while we're talking about your head, head in the Western world, this is no, this is yes. Well, there are parts of the world, parts of Asia, where this can be yes and this can be no, and you're not really quite sure. So maybe you just have flown to Asia and you just did this really big business presentation, and at the end you say, so what do you think? Are we going to do the deal? And they're going like this and mean no, or they're like this and meaning maybe. You just don't know. Just unless you are very familiar with that individual or that group of individuals, and you truly intimately understand their head gestures, don't read a lot into it, because you're not really sure what they mean by that. In India, that beautiful, vast, diverse country, they do something, that head bob. And they can do this, and that can mean all kinds of things depending on where you are. It could mean, yeah, more or less, so, yes, no, depends. So be aware that head gestures can mean all kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily mean, it means what they're doing in one culture can mean something completely different in another culture. Be aware of that. And then when you're studying cultures, which I highly recommend, you look at how a culture relates to time, to nature, and to space. There's this thing called personal space. Yes, personal space. And it varies around the world. So again, do your research so you know if you're traveling around the world and someone gets very close to you, or you meet someone in your culture, but they're from another culture, and you think, gosh, they're a little close, aren't they? Well, it could be cultural. Could be in their culture, they get very close to people, or they are far away from people. There are some cultures in Scandinavia, and they like to keep a nice distance. That's where they're comfortable with. It's part of their culture. It's just varies. You need to do a little research, and there's so many different wonderful avenues. I just saw a thing where it's a very broad brush look, and they decided, let's just come up with some broad brush average inches that people in a social situation are comfortable speaking. And they decided that in the US and Europe, socially speaking to someone, maybe about 20 inches away. These are broad brush numbers, so don't hold me to them, but about 20 inches away, we're comfortable. Okay, so now you could be in Latin America, and it's a little closer, maybe about 15 inches. Or you could be in parts of Saudi Arabia where it could be like 10 inches. And you're like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable. But you need to be mindful of this because it's important, because you could be doing business with someone and they're sort of closer than you're used to, and you start backing up because you think this is kind of strange, you're in my space. But no, when you're backing up, that says, no, thanks. I don't want to, I don't like you. I don't like this deal. I don't want to do anything to do with it. And it sends the wrong message. So do your research. All right. Hope this helps a little bit with body language across different cultures. Enjoyed spending some time with you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please like the video. Drop me a comment. What question do you have? Because I will answer it. I am a comment away from you. So please ask, and love it if you'd be so kind to like this video and subscribe. So thank you so much. And as we always say, please be safe and be kind. Thank you.